want to take one of your articles away first? We can see what's going on there.
Sure. Now, I picked this article, not really so much because of its, in depth, but because it's kind of the way the cannabis community thinks as well. So it's from Marijuana Moment. It says social workers push Biden to fully decriminalize cannabis under federal law, not just reschedule it. Now, when we first started talking about this, and I'm on the record saying that probably the first thing that would happen would be a reschedule. I got a lot of hate from the community, but actually it's true, and that's what's going on there. But I understand the hate from the community because we don't really just want this stuff rescheduled. We think it's basically harmless, or at least put it this way, no more harmful than a cupcake, and should probably be left alone. Shouldn't we just do it on our own? So anyway, nearly 150 social workers have signed a letter urging President Joe Biden to fully remove cannabis from the Federal Controlled Substance Act, the CSA, arguing that despite the administration's proposal to downgrade cannabis from Schedule 1 to Schedule 3, there's nevertheless a critical need for decriminalization. The criminalization of cannabis has torn families apart with overwhelmingly desperate impact on communities of color, says the letter sent to President by 148 social workers last week. If cannabis remains scheduled under the CSA, the individual and collective suffering caused by prohibition will continue to grow. Now, I have to agree with that. Now, it may decrease somewhat because you'll have some venue of legal access for it, but still, it's going to be expensive, and the people who need it may not be able to afford it. So what do you think they're going to do? They're going to get it the way that they have to. Mm-hmm. The letter points out that under the current law, people convicted of drug offenses can lose benefits, including welfare aid under supplemental nutrition assistance programs, as well as access to federal housing.
Wow, man, just because you're fucking using cannabis,
Because you smoke the joint, you can no longer get federally assisted housing, and you can no longer get federally assisted food.
That's just, it's like a side tangent, sorry, but this is what happens, man. Maybe this is what they want. They want us all so dependent on the system that they can dictate what we can and can't do by threatening to take simple things away from us, like food stamps and housing.
I'm not going to even say maybe. You're correct. That's exactly what they want. They
tyrannical government.
Exactly. Yeah. I have this power to take everything you want away from you if you do this thing here that won't harm anybody else around you. This is basically what they're doing to us here. It's ridiculous. By virtue of our professionalism, we have witnessed the grievous harm that cannabis criminalization has caused, it says. If cannabis remains scheduled, parents will lose their children, children will lose their homes, and beloved members of our households will be deprived of essential benefits. Now, this is important because, we've been talking in this country about a lot of things. And one of the biggest things that everybody's going back to right now in America, even in spite of all these election things, is family values. The idea that keeping cannabis scheduled can actually destroy families and ruin family values. Come on, people. This is what you've been after right now, to keep families together. Okay, despite overwhelming support for legalization, it adds, the use of cannabis remains a federal crime, which would still be true in most cases, even after federal rescheduling. The current patchwork of state and local laws has also led to sharply different circumstances around the country. The letter continues, arguing that the piecemeal approach toward legalization has created significant disparities in opportunities and outcomes. While communities in legal states can build wealth from legal cannabis sales and benefit from regulations that ensure a safe, unaltered product, it says, others communities are subject to losing their homes, their occupations, their families, their freedom over the same exact substance. The disparities in marijuana laws stands in the stark opposition to the 88% of Americans who support legalization.
Damn, that's so well put, well done to whoever fucking said that shit, because it's ridiculous. And we can see it more so. I mean, I know you can see it as well, Mikey, because you still live under prohibition as well. But here in the UK, we're looking over at Canada and the USA, and like, come on, can I play in that game? Can I have a turn? It's like, no, you're not allowed to. Why not? Because we fucking said so. Oh, come on, man.
Yeah. But it's not perfect over here in the U.S. either, though, man. Where I live, you'd be no better off living here than where you are right now.
Yeah,
as far as
maybe even worse where you are. Maybe even worse.
Highly possible.
Yeah,
highly possible. I'm not going to get a simple fine and slap on the wrist and my gear taken away. I would get much, much more if I got caught cultivating here.
It's still draconian level of laws, basically.
Right.
Yeah. Only a law because they said so. Simple as that.
Yeah.
There's no good reason behind it.
Now, the next part of the article is where it gets back into something that really hit me hard. It says approximately 80% of all children in foster care are removed from their families for drug-related causes, it says. So imagine that. You're going to remove kids because daddy smoked a joint. And now you're going to put them in foster care, and you're going to consider this to be a good thing for that child. Oh, hell no.
Wow.
You know,
motherfuckers, isn't it?
And it doesn't say 80% of people in foster care are there for smoking cannabis. You know, there's other things involved here too, but still, why would you take a child away from a loving parent? I can understand if it's an abusive situation, but if mom or dad is peacefully using cannabis just the same way anybody else would drink a beer, or if they're using it to treat a headache or whatever, and you're going to take the children away?
That kind of trauma as well, that's generational at that point.
Hell yeah.
The effect it's going to have on the kids, it's going to have an effect
not
on
just the kids, the parents too. I mean, how would you? It would drive me crazy watching somebody take my kids, load them in the back of the car, and me never knowing if I'm going to ever see them again. Oh my God, you better have me tied down. And it's horrible.
The cannon better be stored away somewhere.
Really?
You know,
it might be a parting shot as it goes down the street.
All right. This is what they do to people, though, isn't it?
It kind of is. Yeah. The letter calls on Biden to take executive action to end some of the harms now, while also supporting reform legislation in Congress. This is what our families need to thrive, the social workers said. Consequences of prohibition, they pointed out, have disproportionately fallen on communities of color. And I'll also add, not just communities of color, anybody who's a little bit different. You know, that's just the way it is.
Anyone who's poor.
Poor is actually
very
different.
Good point. Yeah.
Poor is definitely different. And, you know, and we've said it many times, penalties, dollar penalties affect poor people way differently than it does rich people. So if you say, well, it's only $100 fine for that cannabis cigarette, you know what? If you don't have $100 to your name, you might as well be throwing the person into jail and taking away the key. So, I mean, it just, it's fines are not always the fairest way to be dealing with these things.
Very unfair.
So, it is. So if they think it's a fundraiser, no, it's not. It's bullshit. So criminalizing cannabis has resulted in the arrest and incarceration of millions of Americans, mostly people of color, for decades. Mel Wilson, senior policy advisor for the National Association of Social Workers, said in a press release about the letter sent by the group United for Marijuana Decriminalization. In its decision to reschedule cannabis from Schedule I to Schedule III drug, the Biden administration is misguided and thinks it's righting a wrong. On the contrary, such a rescheduling decision actually perpetuates an injustice. Therefore, social workers must urge President Biden to reconsider its current position by fully decriminalizing cannabis. I kind of have a feeling that is going to happen some years into a reschedule. Just like every other legal area has to go through this first. It has to be shown, okay, it's medical. The world didn't fall apart. Everything's fine. Maybe we can let everybody have it now.
Move anyway, down the ladder.
Pretty much. So Chelsea Higgs Wise, who has a background in social work and serves as an executive director for the advocacy group Marijuana Injustice, a member organization of United for Cannabis Decriminalization, said activists have long championed decriminalization and rescheduling, as rescheduling is inadequate. It does not address past harms and has a minimal effort considering the immense damage caused by the drug war, she says. Given that this move primarily benefits big business while doing little for those who directly impacted by the drug war, some might even see this as inadequate measure as an act of violence. That is strong words.
Yeah, I don't like that. I don't like it when they say things like it's not violence, is it? It's words, but still.
No,
this is an opinion about people who've gathered up recently that words are violence, and they're not. Violence is when it's physical contact between one person and another. I know words can hurt people's feelings and shit.
Actions are violence.
Yeah,
words can lead to violence, but they are not actually violence. They can lead to a horrific act, but. So that's why some words.
Just reminds me of that South Park episode. That words are like bullets. Remember that one? But yeah, I won't go on that rant. Sorry.
Yeah. Well, I don't know about all that stuff like that, about, you know, the whole thing about the words being bullets and stuff like that. But I would say the inaction may be considered violent, you know, because basically, you know, you got a problem here and you basically just letting it perpetuate. So by perpetuating the problem, I might say that that borderlines on violence, just borderlines, or borderlines on allowing violence.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. It allows this words that allow the violence and that, which is where it's wrong. It's not, it is, but it's allowing it or
Yeah, it might even encourage the violence, but it still is not violence itself. Yeah.
No, exactly.
Correct. Yeah. It's like, okay, you're giving somebody, you're giving somebody permission to get violent for something so stupid and trivial. It's bull, you know, for smoking an herb. Oh my God, you know,
a delicious herb as well.
Anyway, we can keep going in this. I know we want to cut this a little bit short because we have a lot of things to do this week. But anyway, that's is where the social workers are coming. And this is also where most of the cannabis community is coming from as well. We would rather see this whole thing completely decriminalized, left alone. Just let us do our thing. We're going to be safe. You know, whatever you have to do to keep it safe, that we understand that. But by all means, we just want it to be left alone. Make it legal again.
Yeah.
Yeah. You know, like, also, wouldn't it be easier if they just decriminalize it and said, okay, if you sell more than this amount of like tax value, like money, like if you sell more than 10 grand's worth of weed in a year, you have to then pay tax on it, sort of thing.
And that's just the same with everything. And we
yeah,
already have laws in place for that.
That's what I'm saying. We have the laws in place already for that, and all they could just do, oh, sorry, you criminals are not paying tax and are subject to tax law, which they seem to clamp down a lot fucking more on because it's money, innit? You're not giving us our money. Like, sort of. So the laws are there. They could say complete discriminalization. Now it becomes tax law.
Yeah.
If you've paid enough fucking tax on your sales, there you go.
Just a quick shout out there as well, because somebody asked about Benny Ben and Firefly's in the chat. Shout out to Firefly, and she said 90% better. Cheers. So that's news. You know, Benny Ben is feeling 90% better. So that's very good to hear. Thanks for letting us know, Firefly.
I saw he had an Instagram post up, so I figured he was feeling a little bit better.
Cool. Yes. Good lad. Good lad. Stay strong, man.